Hey, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all about gentle skincare, sometimes self-care, and today we're talking SPF patches. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video called Sunscreen Accessories where I shared with you all the additional things we can do alongside of sunscreen to protect our skin from the sun. And one of those was SPF patches. And I said, do you want me to do a full video on them, testing all different kinds of brands and options? And you said, yes, make the video. So here I am. I've got a lot of variety of SPF patches today. I have transparent ones that like nobody else can see on your skin. They're very discreet. I have patches that you can wear with makeup, patches that are great for sports and activity because they really hold up to sweat. And I also have some reusable patches that are great for the environment. So if you're so ready to dive into sunscreen patches, give the video a big thumbs up and let's get started. So what are sun patches? There's a lot of variety out there, but in a nutshell, they're basically UPF rated physical barriers that protect your skin from the sun. Now, UPF is basically the sunscreen rating, if you will, or the sun protection rating of fabrics. And so these patches are really designed to be used in combination with sunscreen, not as a replacement for sunscreen, but to give you that little bit of extra protection, that physical barrier from the sun on really vulnerable parts of your face. Most of these patches are designed to cover the high points of the face, which is really, the cheekbones and even the bridge of the nose. First up, Franz Naked Sunshield Peptide Patch. Now, these offer transparent protection, as well as what I think is protection from casual sun exposure. These are rated UPF 50 plus with broad spectrum protection. They do claim that these patches protect your skin from 98.1% of UVA rays, as well as 99.9% of UVB rays. Now, there's a couple of claims with these patches. They do claim that these are transparent, like undetectable patches, that they are sweat resistant, water resistant, and that they can also be worn with makeup. Now, these cost about $25 for a pack of 5 disposable transparent packages, and I bought mine on Amazon. So let's talk about the patches and the application method, because these are very different than any of the other patches we're going to be talking about today. So in the box of 5, there are 5 individual packets like this with 2 steps to them. The first step is the patches. Now, here is a pro tip for you that is essential for using these patches, but really any of the patches that we're talking about today. You really do need your skin to be dry and as bare as possible. So you don't want to apply your sunscreen first and then put these patches on. Do your full skincare routine. Really let that absorb into your skin, but you may also want to maybe just use a towel to wipe any additional residue or oil buildup on your skin. You don't want any moistness, right? We want it to be as dry as possible. If you have oil blotting papers, that's what I used a lot of the time just to get any excess oil off of my skin and get it very, very dry. So the patches do have plastic backing on both sides. You want to remove the back that comes off in 2 pieces first, not the blue tab. That's the top that comes off last. So you want to, this was kind of tricky. You want to get the plastic off of the back. It kind of splits down the middle and then you peel the plastic in 2 parts off of the back. And then you want to position that patch exactly where you want it to go and press in really good. And really make sure you take the time to work out any of the air bubbles or any lifts or anything in the patch. These can be hard because there is that more rigid plastic on the top. So I found myself pressing it in and then it would pop back up. So just be really careful and mindful to work out any air bubbles to the best of your ability. When you feel confident about that, you're going to want to lift that blue tab and slowly peel that away. As you're peeling that away, start to work out any of those air bubbles that might occur underneath on the actual patch itself. So don't just rip it off. Be very methodical and really work this into your skin. This is super important. The first patch that I applied had all kinds of wrinkles and dimples and flakes in it that they didn't go away because my application was a little bit off. I wasn't super methodical the first time I used it. So once you get both patches on, then you're going to move on to step number 2, which is this second packet here, which is the Peptide solution. It's almost like almost like a lightweight cream gel serum, if you will. And basically what these do is they sort of mold and melt the patches into your skin. And this is what really makes that patch very transparent. So you just put it right, you glide it right on, and it just helps those edges just kind of like disappear, and it makes that patch just become very clear on your skin, and it just really activates it in a way. You can feel that the patch, like I said, it's almost papery in a way, so you definitely do feel a little bit of a tightening on the skin that is underneath the patch. It's not uncomfortable. You do want to be mindful of that delicate eye area because it could pull there, right? But generally, I found it to be pretty comfortable. So once the peptide serum is dry and the patches feel good, you can go right in with your sunscreen, and you don't have to avoid the patch at all. You can go right on top of the patch. It's very, very cool. So this is where you want to do your full application of sunscreen. You really don't want to skip this part, right? Because the other areas of your face are not being protected. So you can just go right over it with your cream. The patches stay put. It's really awesome. And you can even do your full face of makeup on top of it. And I actually found that I was afraid that putting makeup on top of a patch is like, yeah, it's clear, it's transparent, whatever. But like, aren't you going to see the edge of it once I start building up like a base product? No, I was very impressed with how these took the makeup on really, really nicely. But it actually takes and blends in with makeup really beautifully. I had quite a few people who had no idea. I was like, oh, I'm trying these patches. They're like, you have them on right now? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess I can see it kind of, but like hardly at all. They stood up really, really nicely. They wore really well for quite a few hours, like really the full day. They were on, they were comfortable, my makeup wasn't breaking up around them. So I think as far as their claims for like, yeah, it's transparent, it's undetectable, you can wear makeup on top of it, they absolutely passed that like brilliantly. If you want extra protection and you want to be wearing makeup, this is really where it's at as far as sun patches go. However, there are two other claims here that Franz is making about their product, right? That it's sweat resistant and water resistant. My experience and my testing of this product really doesn't play that out. I really don't think these are sweat and water resistant like at all. Within about 5 to 10 minutes of like profusely sweating, I will be honest with you, I was really working up a sweat. These actually started to release and loosen up from my skin. Now remember how I was telling you that the patches almost like tighten on your skin, so it's not uncomfortable or distracting, but like especially if you like raise your cheeks a little bit or move your face, you can feel the tightness, and that's the patch adhering right to your skin. As soon as I started sweating, like I said, within that 5 to 10 minute period, all of that tightness was gone. I couldn't feel the patch adhering to my skin anymore. All of the adhesion had loosened up underneath. The patch didn't fall off, but I could feel that it was just kind of like swimming around, you know what I mean, on my face. It was just like if I went like this, it would have come off completely. It was completely loose. And that is a sign to me that that patch is no longer going to be fully protecting me from the sun if it's shifting around on my face, right? So just to recap, pros and cons of the Franz Naked Sunshield Peptide Patch. Pros here, definitely transparent. It definitely keeps it cute, right? You can wear this with makeup and people aren't going to see your patches. And I do think that they are very protective for casual sun exposure. As long as you're not sweating, I do feel that these protected my skin very well. Now, cons. These are kind of tricky to apply. You do need to take your time. It takes a little bit of a learning curve. So that was definitely something, because if you don't apply them quite right, they are a lot more detectable when you have those little those little flakes and things right in your patch. They're obviously more easy to see. So definitely a con there for application. There's definitely a con for the fact that they're not, for being active and being sporty. I do wish that they had more sweat resistance to them, but I just don't think that they're really designed for that. I just wish they didn't claim it. I'd be fine if they didn't claim it, but it did not hold up to sweat. It did not hold up to activity. And these may be expensive, depending on how often you would want to utilize these in your routine. 5 patches for $25. It's not the most expensive in the world, but they are one-time use disposable products, right? And so that can add up quite quickly if you're wanting to use these multiple times within a week. Next up is my sporty pick. These are the Mediheal UV Cut Sun Patches. These offer UPF 50 plus protection, covering 99.7% of UVB rays, as well as 92.7% of UVA rays. Now, there's a couple claims here around these patches. Number one, they claim to offer excellent protection for the freckle zone, which we were talking about before, right? Those high points of the face. They also claim that these patches have a cooling effect for the skin. They claim that these patches are excellent for sports and activities outdoors. And they also claim that these are great patches for sweating and even for like an oily skin type. Now, these cost about $14 for 4 patches. I have seen the price go as high as $20 like on Amazon, and I've also seen the price go as low as about $9 to $10 depending on what retailer you're buying from. When I purchased mine on Olive Young, they were about $9 to $10 per pack. So let's talk about these patches. There are 2 different varieties here. We have the wide version as well as the triple version. And I do want to point out they even have like golf balls on the packages to really indicate to you that these are absolutely for sports, for being outside, for being active. So the wide version, this is actually a shape that is really good to give you wide protection on your cheeks. And then the triple version, the cheek patches, they do dip down a little bit lower, but not as low as the wide version. So you're just getting a little bit more of that cheekbone coverage. And then there is a additional patch for your nose. The patches themselves are definitely made out of more of like a traditional fabric material, like you might have been expecting. They actually almost feel like fabric bandages. On the back, as you peel these off the back, you're going to notice that it has a very thin, almost like a hydrogel type of layer. That's what it reminds me of, those like sheet masks that are more like jelly-like. They're really dry, but they're kind of jelly-like. That's what it reminds me of. And then obviously there's an adhesive on the back as well. So these are extremely easy to apply. You just peel them off the back and stick them on your face. You don't have to be too careful about it like you did with the Franz patch. These are incredibly forgiving. Just like with Franz, just like with these, just like with everything I'm going to tell you today, you need to prep your skin to get the best results. You absolutely need to be wiping away any residue. Use the oil blotting paper if you find yourself to be extremely oily. I'm not extremely oily, but even I found that I was getting quite a bit of oil up with those papers, and it really does give you the best end result. So make sure that skin is nice and dry. Do not apply your sunscreen underneath the patch. Apply it after you put the patch on. Trust me on this, you will get the best result. So once the patches are on, apply your sunscreen all around them and you are good to go. If you are moving around, if you are sweating in the heat, these will stand up to your sweat. They really will. I have been using these for all of my lawn care adventures. I spend, the first time I used these, I spent at least 4 hours outside. It was between like pulling weeds and mowing the lawn and doing all those things to make sure that your house looks nice. You know what I mean? And I found that these actually stood up to sweat very, very well. I didn't think they were going to. I honestly thought that they were going to be sliding down my face after an hour, 2 hours of like just constant sweating. Not at all. The edges themselves might lift a little bit, but not to the point that the patch is sliding around on your face and they're not lifting and like folding over and exposing any of that skin, right? I still feel very protected with these, even if just the slight edges lift a little bit. And these, like I said, the very first time I used them, I was outside like legit straight 4 hours. I did reapply my sunscreen within that like hour and a half to 2 hour mark, and even reapplying a nice thick heavy layer of greasy outdoor sunscreen, right? It wasn't disrupting the patch, the adhesion to my face at all. So really impressed with these. They absolutely live up to the claim of being for sports, for being for sweat. Now, I do want to touch on one thing that I did not touch on in my sunscreen accessory video that I think is important to know is the ingredients of these. Yes, there's ingredients. I didn't really talk about the ones in the Franz patch, but you did see the ingredient card there. With these, I do want to touch on that because these claim to have vitamin C and glutathione and tea tree in them. And so I was like, oh, tea tree. I had used like half the pack already, but I was like, what do you mean tea tree? What you talking about tea tree? Let me look into this. I couldn't find any ingredients online like at all. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And so I finally decided to translate the Korean on the back of the package with my phone. And these do indeed have tea tree oil, which is an essential oil, and some vitamin C and glutathione and all of that in here. I will say though, the patch, that dry gel, that's sitting on your skin, I don't find that that's actually giving you any skincare benefits beyond protecting your skin from the sun. I didn't touch on it. I do feel that they actually do keep your skin cool. I thought it might be kind of hot underneath the patch. It wasn't. There is a little bit of a cooling factor. Not majorly so, but enough that doesn't make your skin feel hot underneath the patch. I am sensitive to essential oils. They make my skin irritated and itchy and red and sensitive, and I didn't have any irritation with these. And most of these I used before I even really, like I said, before I even interrogated the tea tree in here. It didn't even register to me that it could be tea tree oil, and I had been using these for so long. So just to recap, pros and cons of the Mediheal patches. Pros, like I said, these are the ones for sports, for sweating, for water. They do have that cooling effect to them, and I do find them to be a decent value for the amount of patches that you get and for the price that you pay. Good value. The only con that I can find with these is potentially the ingredients, right? So definitely assess your risk, but very, very good for sports and sweating. I do have another sporty pick for you. This is the Heimish Watermelon Soothing Sun Patch. These offer UPF 50 plus protection, covering 91.7% of UVA rays and 94.6% of UVB rays. Now there's a couple claims here. They claim that these are sweat proof, that these are for outdoor activities and sports, and that these have a cooling and soothing effect for the skin. These retail about $12 for 5 patches. So these patches are very similar to the Mediheal patches. We do have kind of that more like fabric bandagey type of texture on the top, a little bit of a thin hydrogel with adhesive on the back, and the application here is very much the same. You just peel them off the back and stick them on your face. While these are forgiving for repositioning, they're not quite as forgiving in my personal opinion as Mediheal. You might be able to reposition this once or twice before it feels like it's not clinging to your skin quite as well as it did originally. These stand up to sweat really well. One of the claims is that this is for outdoor activity, and I do believe that these are a good choice for that. They do adhere to the skin. They hold up to sweat. Kind of a similar testing situation. I tested all of these pretty much within the same sort of parameters, 4 hours outside with lots of sweating, and these did hold up, not quite as well as Mediheal. I will have to admit, the edges lifted up a little bit more, but again, I didn't feel that they were folding down and exposing bare skin or completely falling off of my face or sliding around either. I do feel like they still stayed in place, but again, the adhesive is just a step or two less than the Mediheal patches are. However, they are still, I think, a very good choice for sweating in sports and activity, right? And so for me, I do like these. And obviously here with the ingredients, you can see we don't have any like, uh-oh, I have to make this big warning. There's nothing here to warn you about, right? It is free of fragrances and essential oils. I would say again, some ceramide NP in here, some soothing watermelon. I really don't think these ingredients are getting meaningfully into the skin. I really do think it's just a way to make this patch, a watermelon patch, look different than this patch, which is like a tea tree and vitamin C patch, right? They are essentially the same products doing essentially the same function, but how do they make themselves look different to the consumer? I really personally don't think these ingredients are doing much. These absolutely did protect those areas. I didn't see any darkening of existing sun freckles. I didn't see any new ones emerging. I felt very protected with these. Really, really nice. The only thing is I find the shape a little small for my personal face, for my personal anatomy and what I like. I do like the ones that cover a little bit more, but if you're looking for just kind of like a little bit more of a discreet kind of an option just for your cheekbones, these would be good. The value here, these are some of the most affordable patches in the video, about $12 for 5 patches. So just to recap here with the Heimish patches, the pros, free from fragrance, that's a goodie. They are definitely cooling. I didn't actually mention that. They do have like that cooling effect. I think it's just that gel on the back that helps to keep the skin not stifled and not like sweaty and hot underneath. And I do think that they are a very good value, as I mentioned before. Really the only con here is maybe the shape, depending on what you're looking for in the shape of your patch and the coverage. Maybe the shape's a little skinny, and possibly just the fact that it's not like the most ultra water and sweat resistant, right? I obviously have to knock a little bit of a point off because we have a slightly better performing patch in the video, but like I said, I would not hesitate to purchase these again. Now let's talk about the reusable sustainable option, which is good for casual sun exposure. This is Sun Patch UPF 50 plus reusable sun patch. This is rated UPF 50 plus, blocking out 98% of UVA rays and blocking out 98% of UVB rays. So a couple claims here. They do claim that these patches are reusable. Everything we've talked about so far has been one use and then you dispose. These are reusable. They're made out of 100% zinc silicone. So these are great for folks who are sensitive to adhesives, which have been used in all of the patches that we've talked about so far. So these are very different. And then they do also claim that these are waterproof. These retail $26 for 4 pairs, and I did buy these off of Amazon. So the material is silicone-y. It doesn't have that fabric feel or the paper feel. It doesn't have like a gel on the back at all. It's a very thin silicone patch with just a little bit of stickiness at the back. Now, you definitely want to make sure that you prep your skin. I've said it for every single one, but I just want to say it again. It's so important, especially with these. These don't have very good adhesion. They don't stick super well. They're not very forgiving. You want to try to get it right on the first go. I had some issues with these, just kind of getting them to really stick well to my skin even after prepping. So I started my 4-hour outdoor odyssey when it was super hot and I started to sweat within a few minutes, and these were slipping off of my face within about 10 minutes. And I actually was not able to go through with the full testing because I didn't feel protected. As I mentioned with the other patches, they would lift up at the edges, but I still felt okay about it. I still went through and they never fell off or anything like that. These were slipping and sliding around my face. They were lifting and flipping off. Absolutely not. I had to stop after, I think it was like I said, 10-15 minutes. I went back inside, took them off. As you can see, they were basically falling off my face already. Again, under 30 minutes, under 20 minutes, these are falling off of my face. And I actually went and put on some more of the Mediheal ones instead. For me, I'm not really sure where these land in my personal sunscreen wardrobe for patches. I'm thinking about maybe putting these on, just popping these on when I go and walk my dog for about 10 to 15 minutes in high summer, just give myself a little extra protection. You know, maybe for situations where I know I'm not going to be sweating as much. Just to recap, you know, the pros, it's a 100% zinc oxide silicone material, which can be good for sensitive folks. To recap the cons, they're not water proof for sure, and they're not even resistant to water or to sweat. They do have a kind of a small coverage area. There's a couple of other shapes, as I mentioned, that you could get from this brand, from Sun Patch, but I personally find them to be a little bit small in the coverage area. And, you know, of course, pricey. $26 for 4 patches. They are reusable, but I also do feel like the situations where you'd be using these are kind of limited, right? When you're not going to be sweating, it's just kind of casual. So I'm on the fence about these. I'm not really sure, but I think that they could be helpful for some situations. So I hope you enjoyed my tour through all different kinds of sun patches. There's a lot of options out there. I've been rocking these all summer long, and my cheeks have been loving it. That extra protection has been really good for helping me to fade some little bits of sun damage on my skin, not letting them get any darker, and still working towards my brightening goals. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments, are you rocking sun patches at all? Let us know in the comments. And if this video was helpful to you, please hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you're never out of the loop, especially if you love deep diving into skincare, because that's what my channel is all about. I love you so much. Thanks for being here with me today, and I hope that you are healthy, happy, and safe. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.